So I'm going to give you a brief introduction of Bill EXITO, and just to get a big first view of what Bill EXITO is. You might be wondering, what does Bill EXITO stands for? And EXITO is a word in Spanish. You probably have Googled it and say, oh, it means success. Some people think it means exits, like you exit the door, and that's actually, if you want to go with that metaphor, we will consider success if you exit with a degree. That's EXITO too. But what it stands for, it stands for Building University Infrastructure Leading to Diversity. And it's clear for me. I didn't come up with that one. I came up with the other one. It's probably corner. EXITO stands for Enhancing Cross-Disciplinary Infrastructure and Training at Oregon. Some people call it in Oregon, but it's at Oregon because some of you, probably many of you, are not from Oregon, and you are here at Oregon getting that training and developing that infrastructure. So that's Bill EXITO, in a successful pathway to success. We are not the only Bill sites. There are, can you see okay? I probably am talking somebody on this side. So Bill, we're not the only one. There are actually 10 Bill sites. Bill is an initiative of the federal government. It's actually a research experiment. We're all doing different things to see what predicts success in developing biomedical researchers. And the term biomedical is a loose term that includes biomedical, behavioral, social, public health, social work, bioengineering, clinical. So you do not have to major in biology. You don't have to major in chemistry only. You can actually select from a group of majors that are considered biomedical by the National Institutes of Health. The National Institutes of Health is the agency in the federal government that funds the best. When I say the best, I'm not saying that we're the best, but actually I think we're the best. The best biomedical research in the world. It's actually the only government that has so much funding given out for any country, actually, it's not just the US, to fund biomedical research. And it goes from heart disease, to kidney diseases, to diabetes, to cancer, eye diseases. I mean, any body parts that requires research, the National Institute of Health provides funding for that. It's becoming more and more competitive, and one of the things they realize is the number of researchers who receive funding from the National Institute of Health have become more and more homogeneous. It's mostly the same group of very smart people who have been doing the same research for many years, and that when you do that, you take away the ability to innovate. And one of the things that we know is that there is a lack of diversity in the number of biomedical researchers. Diversity is a loose term that includes people who come from different cultural backgrounds, different socioeconomic, different geographical locations, etc. What Bill is intended to do is to attract universities that have a very large number of underrepresented students. There's one thing that you have in common that no one else has. When you have grown in a deprived environment, you might be assuming, you have had to innovate. You have had to improvise all your life. And those skills, we need them in research. When we bring people who have not had to improvise all their life, we actually take away our ability as researchers to start looking, to start improvising, which is what actually advances biomedical research. So Bill had that in mind. Where can we find students who have been underrepresented and underserved to become scientists and diversify our thinking how we do research. Okay? And we need those type of skills in every aspect of research, not just in the petri dish or the lab, but we also need that in public health. We also need to do how we translate those findings that we find in bedsides, how do we find them to the hospitals, how do we translate those findings into community settings. So with that in mind, NIH had a request for applications and many universities applied, and these 10 universities provided an experiment on how they're going to recruit, train, and develop biomedical researchers. So we have a site at University of Maryland, Baltimore County. We have another site at Morgan State University. Those both are in Baltimore. Morgan State, a historically black college university. We have a site at University of Detroit Mercy in Detroit, of course. There's another site at Xavier University, that's in New Orleans, also another historically black college. There's another site at the University of Texas, El Paso, as a Latino serving universities. Cal State Long Beach, Cal State Northridge, and San Francisco State University. They're all doing different things. I think San Francisco State, they're working with stereotype threat. That's a foundational theory of how you can minimize that and make students become researchers. We also have a site at the University of Alaska, Fairbanks, very underserved and a very wide geographic location. You, if you're from Alaska, how many people are from Alaska? You probably hate this picture because Alaska is half the US. We always, just to say Spain, shrink it. But actually, Alaska is a huge geographical location. So, University of Alaska Fairbanks has a site called Bill Blast, is their name. And then we have the best, which is Portland State University, EXITO. And we have a unique partnership with local students here in Oregon and in Vancouver. Vancouver is a city across the river, Columbia River. But we also have partnership with universities across the Pacific Rim. So in this picture you'll see, so this is actually Portland is here, but we have partnerships in Hawaii, we have partnerships in Guam, the Commonwealth of Northern Mariana, we have partnership with Samoa, we have partnership with University of Alaska Anchorage. We have an affinity with Anchorage because they're also a urban serving university. In brief, what you'll see is the program has many moving parts. Like I said, every Bill site was doing something. This is for our great idea. We another fearless leader, his name is Tom Keller, who made it. This is our experiment. We're not drawing blood from you. We're not doing anything funny with you that will harm you. This is an experiment that is very obvious. But while it is obvious, it's hard to implement. We have done research training. We have trained students to become investigators. But normally we have one or two things. Because our assumption when we applied for this grant was come up with something, money is no problem. So this is a very expensive experiment. Some of you might ask how expensive it is. How expensive you think it is? How much money? In the millions. $24 million. That's what we were given. So I've never seen $24 million in my life. I have no idea how it works. And even with $24 million, I've told many times, no, you cannot buy that. No, you cannot buy that. No, that's not allowed. So here is how we will take you through this process. So start at your freshman. Some of you completed your freshman year, and you are in that stage, so you are probably around here. And you are going from engaging the students to moving into a gateway part of the intervention. You are here, summer orientation. So you've probably known about us by applying. You've probably known about us by talking to somebody else, by going to our website, by looking at our funny videos, and we can thank Jen Lingwell for our communications expertise. But we've done a lot of work trying to get to you. You were selected, but for every one of you here, there were probably 5 or 10 applicants. We're not looking for exactly a 4.0 Harvard person, because those students actually, they're fine. They have 4.0, they have great backgrounds, they have great parents that have to guide them. They probably don't need Bill EXITO. We're looking for students who are highly motivated, who wanted to do this. And we hope that we did a good job. Actually, that's part of the experiment. How many students we actually selected that were actually the one that we were looking for? These things happen. This is actually a research. Okay? So you went through a process of application, an interview, etc., and you were finally selected. We got you here. We're trying to develop what we call a cohort effect. If you came from American Samoa, where's this American Samoa students? All right. So when you were in Samoa, there were 3 students. People were probably thinking, "What are you doing? Where's Oregon? Portland? Isn't that far away? I think it snows there sometimes, right?" And you are thinking like, maybe it's true. Maybe this is a bad idea. Who's this Carlos guy? Anyway, so you actually decided to do it, and you're here today, and then you're looking around and says, "I'm not the only crazy one. There's already 95 of them. We're not just thinking that this is a bad idea." So this is an important time where you actually are saying like, I wasn't that crazy. I wasn't just drinking the Kool-Aid. I think there might be a chance that this is true. Maybe I do have a future in research. Most of you, as we speak, are not thinking of yourself as the person who's going to find the cure for cancer. But that's my expectation, is that you are going to find the cure for cancer today. And it starts somewhere. And we actually are beginning to have proof that you can get there. I would say this is your cohort number 4. Cohort 1 was 4 years ago. And we have 1 student who is going to get a PhD in astrophysics, and she's discovered a supernova, and somebody who's going to do a PhD in biophysics at Berkeley, and somebody going to Harvard Medical School. 4 years ago, I had no idea. We were looking ourselves like, just like the students from Samoa thinking like, we're doing this right. We were thinking like, this is going to work. But it's actually very rewarding to start seeing some of those things coming through. So we are, you're so much better off than that first cohort. In the first cohort, we were truly, I have to be careful what I say. We were truly experimenting. Now I think we know what we're doing. We have great partnerships. We have collaborations with different universities, and all these universities are at different stage of research, a different stage of curriculum development, a different stage of relationship with Portland State. If you're from PCC, how many students from PCC, Portland Community College? PCC and PSU are like cousins. We live in the same neighborhood, we steal from each other. But our students actually can take classes at PSU, and our students from PSU can take classes at PCC. We have a well-developed relationship, but we have partners that we have not worked together before. So these things take time to develop, and these are relationships. It's hard to measure these things, but they are very important. So as you go through this process, you have access to an EXITO advisor. You met Carlos Guatella, which is a great, I call it traffic controller, because if you ask me a question, there is a high likelihood that you're going to get the wrong answer. But if you ask the good Carlos, you'll probably get the right answer, okay? Because he knows how the academic advising works, and he is also aware of all the questions he has received, so he probably have answers for things that you might be thinking that you're not sure what to do. He will probably can tell you about that. We have student support services. You just met the vice president for enrollment and student affairs. We are just actually have at PSU a Office of Multicultural Affairs. We also have places for students from different cultural backgrounds to get together besides just EXITO. We also have a place for you. We didn't have it in cohort 1, but we have it now. And I think we might have a chance to go and have a tour. There is a student lounge, there's a conference room, there's a computer room. You can find us in that place. There's a McNair Scholars Program, etc. We're co-located in one area, and it's not in a basement in some place. It's actually in the 3rd floor of Kramer Hall, which is one of the central buildings. So we are working. This is available to you from the beginning until the end. You will go through your sophomore year, take a gateway research course. These things, at the end you're gonna sing these things, but this is what we know now. You will have opportunity to do research, and you will have a capstone, and those are for students who are transferring. Some of our partners, like students from University of Guam, or who's from Guam, all right, who's from Alaska, Anchorage. All right. Who is from University of Hawaii? Anybody from Hawaii? All right. And who's from PSU? Cool. All right. Good. All right. So those students are going to finish their start in that institution and finish there. The students from community college, they'll transfer to Portland State. You have a paid research experience. Next summer, you're going to do a 4-week, what we call a boot camp. It's to prepare you to get into your paid research experience. That summer, you will do a research project. That research project, you will present it at a professional meeting, and you will be supported for that. We're not going to go out there and throw you. We'll help you with that. We have faculty who are doing pilot projects, and they involve students in their pilot projects. It helps them to conceptualize a research idea, how to develop and collect the data and present it. So some students have worked on that. You will be working with your independent research. There's peer mentoring available to you. How to be a peer mentor, you'll be exposed to 3 types of mentor: peer mentor, career mentors, and research mentor. This is probably, this is last year's cohort, because I didn't realize. See, yeah, I'm not there. So that was last year, and this was toward the end. And what you notice that they look happy, right? So I hope that at the end of your 1 week, you're just equally happy. I remember we had days of 102-degree weather. Today will be 90 something, which you probably, if you're from somewhere, you're yeah. But if you're from Alaska, it's like what, 90 what? But tomorrow we'll have weather at 70. If you're from Alaska, you say, yeah. But if you're from Samoa, you say, what, 70 degrees? That's the beauty of diversity, that we are exposed to different things and we learn how to cope with things. So here is a broad picture of our model. What you'll see is there's a line here, and that means that if you're past this line, that's tomorrow for you. So if you're here from Guam, it's what time? 2 a.m., 3 a.m.? So if you see people just wandering around, don't know, just probably from Guam or from the Commonwealth of Northern Marianas. And even for Samoa, it's not, it's basically very close. But just realize that you bring a lot of diversity. And what I found interesting is that you are so good at navigating that diversity, much better than we grown-ups. You have been able to learn from each other, you have been able to accept each other, you have been able to appreciate what each other brings to the table. So I am extremely excited to see that among you. This is a quick picture of, it's a circle, it doesn't add to 100%. We also have a outreach to students who have been in foster care system. We also have an outreach to students that have disabilities. But if you look at the broad picture, this is probably like a couple of years old, slides of who are our students, okay? And it's great. This is a at any given time, you have no idea who you're talking to in terms of what they're bringing. This is the same. We look at that big picture that was confusing with the freshmen, etc. This is give you a chronological perspective of what's happening. So we start with an orientation. We identify research interests, so you're going to be working on an elevator pitch, okay? And we're going to tape you, and it's going to show up in Facebook so mom and dad can see it. Say, oh, look what they're doing with the kids. So that's happening. And this is chronological again. It's a 3-year program. Starts this summer. Then you enter into a preparation stage, and you learn about science. You define goals for your research. We start developing that supporting network. How to integrate socially, not just among your peers, but now you enter a different guild where you're working with people who PhDs and physicians and are doing research, etc. They dress funny, sometimes they put a white coat, and you have to say, do I have to do that? And the first time you have to do it might be, but there are people who have been working on different type of research that is not, doesn't require a white coat. You have access to advising, you can be assigned a faculty mentor. It's not exactly the person faculty who's going to do research, but it's a faculty who's going to be working with you. You'll be attending some enrichment workshops, and it varies by institution. At Portland State, we meet every Friday, and it's a chance to get together on Friday afternoon to talk about what's next. One of the things you're going to be doing in your sophomore year is to learn about where you're going to do research next. And we have probably between 70 to 100 what's called research learning communities. And Katie Logan, work, and actually the entire groups, you're going to meet probably a lot more faculty involved than the one that are here, who are recruiting investigators. And these investigators have agreed to open the doors for you to come in and start breaking things. Okay? And you can't expect that a student who just became a sophomore and is going to be a junior is going to enter this lab, very sophisticated equipment, and is not going to screw up. So we need to work with them to tell them, we are going to do our best to train you. So this sophomore year is to train you on research methods, on how to work with human subjects, the importance of honesty in the lab, showing up on time, etc. And we are going to place you in this lab, and they have accepted you. And you'll probably be the most junior person there. You're going to have people who, this is their bread and butter. If you really screw up, a lot of people could lose their job, not pressure. But there are people who finish their PhD and doing a postdoc. So if you think you have, getting your PhD is going to take a long time, there's more. After you finish your PhD, there's something called a postdoc. And these people are actually in the lab, and they have willingly and graciously accepted to mentor you. Okay? So take advantage that there are people who in good faith wants to mentor you. You can talk to some of our scholars who have gone through that, and they can tell you what has happened to them, what worked, what did not work. This sophomore year, we had this enrichment to help you. Because this is one of the key part of EXITO. Most of the investigators that exist, they had parents, they had friends who actually helped them navigate that transfer. We have to artificially create that supporting environment so you can actually show up at junior year and be confident. Okay? You have gone through this, we have taught you, you have had opportunities, we have panels for people who are doing research on, and these workshops are very important for your professional development. Okay, so take advantage of that. You will take a course called the Gateway Course, a research gateway course about research methods, etc. Trying to take all the myth away from being a researcher. Then next summer you have a 4-week, the one where PSU, a 4-week induction. If you are probably at some of the 4 college universities like Guam, Hawaii, or Alaska, there is a process where before you're placed into that research learning community, you have another onboarding process. the way we do it here. For 4 weeks, you visit your research learning community. Oh, there's a research learning community fair that happens in your sophomore, where you actually interview with that placement, and then there is you select your top 4, and then we try to match you with your research learning community. There are a variety of researchers doing different things, from basic science to social science, from molecular biology to autism research, from AIDS in the HIV virus to interventions on HIV prevention. So there's a variety of things for you to choose from, okay? So take your time and study them. So you're going to spend about a couple of years after that working in that placement. Then you end up here for your junior year, which will be program year 2. And then for that, you're working 10 hours a week in the lab. You're going to school, and the enrichment workshops, instead of weekly, then it has evolved. It goes from weekly now to bi-weekly. Again, it's a chance for you to come back. There's a lot of questions you might have that you don't dare ask your research mentor, that you don't dare ask your faculty mentor, but that you're willing to share with your mentor. We also start working with you on what's next. If you're planning to go to graduate school, to do it in your senior year, it might be too late. So we start working with you in your junior year to start looking, if you're going to go to graduate school, where would you go? What programs are good? Who is the #1 person in that area of research? And how are you going to meet that person? And that helps you in terms of what research you're going to engage, where you're going to present your paper, who you're going to stalk on Facebook, who you're going to stalk on Instagram. So when you meet this person, you will make a great first impression. So that happens during your junior year, and then it goes into that summer between your junior and your senior year. And at that stage, we are expecting that you will have a research idea that you can do for that summer. So about 300 hours, and you're going to be actually first year in your junior year, you're actually working 10 hours, learning, breaking things, fixing them up, just leave it broken and go away, just fix it up. And then now in the summer, you're actually going to have a project that you're going to develop on your own. You have met your team, your mentors, your postdocs, your research assistant. They have all been there, and you've been looking around, and you're looking for that piece of the puzzle that you think you can do something. Okay? And they're looking at you to do that too, by the way. It might not be a huge project. Maybe it's the cure for cancer, but maybe there's something else. And then you work that summer, and then you collect the data and present at a small gathering at the end of that summer, and then you get feedback, and then you have a chance to actually go and present that paper at a professional meeting where grown-ups with ties go and they ask questions, etc. But you will do fine. We have learned that our students at that stage, you look like a PhD. And you have a poster, and we'll give you feedback. But you'll be surprised how confident you are, even though it's scary. You'll be a lot more confident in what you're doing. You have had support from faculty mentors, research mentors, and we'll help you also make sure that your poster looks nice. At the end of the day, it's our name on the line too. We have a brand now. People love EXITO scholars. You came in as a student, you're going to go home as a scholar, okay? And your parents are going to look like, what happened here? A scholar? And then that last senior year, you're basically finishing. You're basically giving the final touches in going to interviews for graduate school, etc., etc. It seems overwhelming now. You're going to hear this again and again. We have, and sometimes I know it's a lot of pressure. We have high expectations. Life happens. We are fully aware. We're fully aware that life happens, and we're here to support you. We're learning with you also. You'll be surprised how many new things you bring up that we never prepared for. And when that happens, We have the best intention to help you. I don't think that anyone here is not interested in your success. We want you to be successful, and when that happens, we're ready to step up and help you. So, so that's almost in a nutshell. So what are the benefits? So you have a 3-tier mentoring. Again, there's a peer mentor, there's a career mentor, there's a research mentor, 3 different group of mentors that you have. We have an evaluation that keeps track of these things. We can tell you need to see your career mentor, and you would say, yeah, but when it comes time to do it, you say, I'm too busy. So we do have a way to keep track of when you see your mentor. There's a web-based log, and you enter and say, yes, I met with Dr. Crespo. He was sleeping in the room, and never answered my questions, etc. And somebody reads that stuff. Okay. Then I go in and I said, I met with the student. He or she met her appointment 3 times. Finally, we met, but I was too tired, fell asleep. So that person is Kayla. She's going to collect these things, and at some point she's going to say, this is not working out, or there's a miscommunication, or things are working great. So these things we keep track. It's part of our evaluation process. We have 2 multiple ways of evaluation. There's quantitative, where we collect data. You'll be surveyed out, by the way. You're going to get so many surveys that at the end you might be a survey expert. Like, this is not the right way of asking a question. But that's part of the process. You're going to get surveys from us. You're going to get surveys from National, who's comparing all the bill sites. You're going to have qualitative also assessment, where you enter what you're thinking, and we keep track of these things. Okay? You have access to an advisor. You have career guidance. Most of you are thinking, when your parents are thinking that you're going to be a doctor or lawyer, and then after this week you're going to go home and say, no, Mom, I decided to be a medical anthropologist. And he said, can you get a job for that? Yeah, I met one person who is working on medical anthropology. They don't make that much money, they're happy. So you're going to have a lot of information on career guidance. You're going to have this exposure to an intensive medical research. And if you're thinking about what is it that we offer in this experiment, is a multi-tier mentoring and a hands-on intensive research learning exposure. And then we'll prepare you to go to graduate school. Okay? So we have gone through this. So we have your 1-week orientation. You have the establishment of EXITO cohort. You will consent to be a given subject in a research experiment. By the way, you read that thing because you're not obligated to stay in EXITO. But once you do, it's like Hotel California. Sure, you can never get out. But you have the options to say, I don't want to go to graduate school. I don't want to be a researcher. I just went on a trip to Portland. That's all. So you can do that. Okay. So you will sign that consent, and it says the benefits and the risk of being an EXITO scholar. You get surveys, you get tours here in Portland State. The Gateway course is what's next. You will have an assigned a career mentor, a faculty mentor, advising peer mentors, enrichment, and we start building a cohort experience. Again, the scholars who are at community colleges transferred to Portland State. This is what happened in your summer induction. You received your placement in your ROC. This went from 80 hours to 100 hours, which is probably better. You don't even notice. You have so much fun. You don't notice an extra 20 hours. You do get paid for some of the things that you're doing. Then on the next summer immersion, which we thought was 300 hours, that's about 3 months. That's about 100 hours. That's 30 hours a week. So, yeah. And 250 you will be working with the RLC, but the other 50 hours it's about enrichment workshops, which helps in terms of how to prepare your poster, how to present it, etc., etc. Career supports, mentoring, and then in the academic year, we work in preparing you to graduate school. The expectations. So, a research training that prepares you for a minimal research experience. This is what we expect. This is what you should expect from us. A connection with a research learning community, not a haphazard one, but one that we spend time you learning about yourself and what's your passion. Believe me, if you don't like this thing from the beginning, you're going to hate it at the end. Pick something that you have a passion for. Okay? We tell that to actually PhD students. Pick a subject that you really, really love, because at the end you're going to be so sick and tired of working on the same thing. So if you start in the wrong place, it's just going to be really painful. Okay? So learn about yourself. What's your passion? What you want to learn more about? We encourage you to complete and continue your education. We have something called the Student Success Committee, and it's a group of faculty who will keep track of your progress. And when things are not working out, it shows up somewhere. Either you're not showing up to your learning community, you're not meeting with your mentors, your grades are going down. So we know when something might be going wrong, and we intercede. We ask you, communicate. This is a big part of this process. Communicate. We know that life happens. If something is happening, let us know. If your grades are not doing the best that you can, we might be able to, we cannot take the test for you. Don't ask us to do that. But we might have access to peer mentoring. We might have access to tutoring sessions. We might have access to writing places. So we do know. The one thing we know is you're here because you have a passion and you're highly motivated. Okay? So whenever there's a problem, let us know, communicate, email. We have this Student Success Committee who is there to help you. We give you a warning, just again, sometimes telling you, it's like our parents, you know. They tell us and we hear and it's like blah, blah, blah. But it's not until they actually take our phone away or ground us or something that we're like, oh, these people are serious about it. So we do give you a warning information. The last thing we want for you is to not complete the program, but we want to make sure that you communicate and help us. Evaluation of these activities. We have mentoring assignments. You learn about protection of your rights as human subjects, and just like we're doing it with you, you will probably have to do that when you end up in your research learning community. And we have a space for you where you can actually feel like this place could be overwhelming, by the way. If you started at PSU, if you are from Portland and started at PSU, this is not a scary place. But if you come from far away, even if you're from Oregon and you come up to this city and all these buildings, the first couple of weeks is fun, but after a while you're like, this is overwhelming. It's a nice city, by the way. I've lived in different places. This is a very nice city. Great transportation. You can bike. You can feel relatively safe. But we have a space. It's called the EXITO Center, where you can study. No one will ask you, what are you doing here? Okay, you can go there and you tell them that you know K-Logan and they will let you in. It's the Kramer Hall. We'll have a chance to go, and there's a computer room so you can do your homework. There's a printer so you can print. Do they have to pay for printing? They have an allowance. Printing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a printer which, I've been in places where you can print all you want, but then at the end you have to pay. Probably the same thing, but you don't have to bring cash. We'll know where you live. What we expect from you is to stay full-time, okay? At Portland State, it's 12 credits. It's not that we come up with our rule. It's actually part of the NIH process. They're going to support full-time students, okay? You have to be a U.S. citizen, permanent resident, or non-citizen national. If you're here, you probably are. Probably over that part. You need to be a medical major, and we have identified all of them, and they vary. It's not just one degree in biology or chemistry, but there's a variety of degrees. If you want to transfer, you want to change majors, talk to Carlos Guatela. You also have an academic advisor that is dedicated to your discipline. You have to maintain a GPA of 2.5. You have to complete the NIH and EXITO surveys and reports, and other requirements that are being by your sites. And again, not everybody is going to be at Portland State, so there might be other rules in some of the other partners. All right, so I hope I didn't take too long. No, okay, we started early, so we're. Any questions?
Can I just say one thing? If there's questions, I'd love to run the mic around so you can say it in the mic so we get it on the recording.
Yes, question with it?
Is there anything for like bus passes or anything like that? Like you guys mentioned parking.
Okay, so I'll repeat so we. So is there anything for bus passes?
Yeah,
or?
you guys mentioned like reimbursement for parking, but do you have anything for like bus passes or anything
Okay.
like that?
Is that for orientation?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
That's a Cassandra question. Who is not in this room. I don't believe we have anything for bus passes though.
There's parking.
Yeah, parking if they don't attend PSU, and when she is back, we'll ask her.
Okay. And part of this is these rules are I was given $24 million. I would be probably giving everybody a motorcycle. The issue is that NIH has what they permit as. So if you're from Guam, they will say, yeah, you need an airplane ticket. You're not going to get there on the bus. So they allow us to spend those money. If you're local, they'll say, well, those students are already there. Why should we pay for that? But let me expand on that. Which is great. There are scholars who are doing research at OHSU, and they end up being OHSU employees or OHSU volunteers, etc. And OHSU has a special transportation package for their employees, and I think it's like $80 a year, and you can use train, max, bus, etc. Then if you're at PSU, that's not for you to now say, oh, I just want to be an RLC at OHSU. There are research learning communities who are Portland State. Not all of them are at OHSU. So they have different packages. So I know the students who work at OHSU for a year, I think it's like $80 for an entire year. You have access to public transportation. So Ms. Ramirez is there, and you can probably talk to her depending on your specific situation.
Any other questions? I can run to you. Or you can yell them out.
Are you excited what's going to happen to the rest of your life? It might be a little scary, but it has happened. We've done it before, and no one has gotten hurt too much, and I think it's a great experience to see what we call EXITO faculty. These are the grown-ups, and they will tell you, like, I wish I had this experience growing up. And I tell you my experience, how many times I did the wrong thing because I just did not know. And my parents, they didn't finish high school actually. But they did what they could. But this is a way for you to ask any questions. What's the difference between, by the way, I don't have a PhD, I have a DrPH, which is a Doctor of Public Health. And you might say, I've never heard of that. It doesn't matter how many times I've told people it's not a PhD, it's a DrPH. I give up. So there are differences. And these are things that you might be asking yourself, like, do medical doctors do research? Good people, if you're sick, I want to see a medical doctor. But they're not researchers. They've been trained to treat and cure sick people all day long, since 6 in the morning until 8 at night. And they do that again and again and again. Did they do research? Maybe a few of them. There's nothing wrong with that. But these are the questions that you might have Then you said, so what's the difference between a DO and an ND? What's a PhD? What's a DrPH? All these things that you might be thinking about, take the opportunity to ask us. You might get 3 different answers, but that's actually another way of knowing that there are diverse sources of opinion. All right, so you have a great day. If there are no other questions, I think we are up for ice cream.
No, so we are